Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of The Gray Area. I'm pretty excited about this interview, and I have high hopes that people are going to enjoy it. I honestly conducted this interview about a month ago at this point, and the reason there's been such a delay with it is because I encountered some good old technical difficulties with the audio, and really with plenty more than that. But I ask that you bear with me for the sake of quite an enjoyable conversation and story and just a cool podcast. So without further ado, enjoy Old Man Saxon. Okay, you got me. I am re-recording this introduction because half of it cut out when I was recording the podcast in the first place. So, I just want to give a little background on Old Man Saxon. I'll let you know that first, he started his career writing an album, his first album called The Perils, where he was homeless in Los Angeles, living out of his car, and from there got some success with his album, became a professor of hip-hop, eventually got his own TED Talk, where he talked about his experiences, his lessons learned from everything, and just shared his new perspectives with his students. After that, he went on a Netflix show called Rhythm and Flow, which is something that he is well known for. Had quite a memorable audition that we do talk about, where he performed in front of Snoop Dogg, Cardi B, Chance the Rapper, and T.I. And from there, he has continued to create some really good music and continue his artistry with amazing music videos and lyricism and just a very unique version of hip-hop and adding in his unique perspective as well. So without further ado, welcome Old Man Saxon.
Hey y'all.
Welcome. With this podcast, I like to kind of go in order, go back in time a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I feel like for you, even though this has been a while ago, it is just so vital to your story to go back to the era of the Perils, where you wrote your first studio album. And at the time, like I said before, you were living homeless out of your car. I'd love to hear just from you what that experience was like.
Yeah, that was amazing, actually, right? And I remember I told this story recently, just to jump ahead really. Was trying to get on this other reality TV show called The Five before Rhythm and Flow, and the producers were talking to me on Zoom and like, hey, so what's your story? I was like, yeah, I was homeless, and I was homeless in LA for 13 months, and it was like a really good, like, life-changing moment. And he was like, but it had to have been sad. And I was like, well, yeah, but I don't think that was like the main takeaway from it. But no, tell me about how sad it was. And I was like, no, like it was a life-changing thing for me in a good way, right? There were crazy stories, of course. But yeah, I had finished college, CU, and I had moved to LA. And I just didn't want to take a normal job, like just do something straight out of college, because I felt like I was going to get stuck in it, right? Because especially since then there was nothing that I like actually like loved, like really. And so I went to LA and I got a job doing video game testing for Konami, and it was a terrible job, fun but terrible, right? You're testing video games, it should be amazing, but it was work, right? But I was writing songs then, and I quit that job because it was just too much time out of my life, driving from like La Cañada to El Segundo, which is an hour, and then being at work for 8 hours, and then driving back was another hour. So that's 10 hours out of my day where I'm not writing music, not doing anything. So I quit. And then when you quit, you don't have money, and when you don't have money, you don't have a place to stay after a while. And so yeah, I moved into my car, and I remember the first day of it. It was so like, it was so weird to like not know where to go. Like, I'm not even in Denver where I grew up. I'm in a different state, in LA of all the places. And the first place I parked was the Hollywood Hills, because in my mind it was like, you park where there's not a lot of crime and stuff. And I slept in my car, and I remember waking up to like one of the parking people was like, "Hey," knocking on my door, like, "You can't sleep here." Like, he was so like straightforward. It was like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. You can't sleep where all the rich people are. You gotta go to the broke places. And so then I started sleeping in Koreatown, right? Which is like nuts. And I started sleeping next to like, in my car. Thank God I had my car the whole time. But I started sleeping next to people like who pushing carts right there, right? And people in the next car, there was someone sleeping in there, right? And so I was like, all right, well, this is better. And then I woke up and my phone was gone from my car. Someone broke into my car while I was sleeping in there. But I remember that one of those nights parking in Koreatown is when I looked, it's such so like poetic and shit, but like I looked up at the moon and I started writing the Perils that night. Wow. And I was like, man, I just cannot wait to like be anywhere but here right now. And I started writing the Perils. I wrote that first verse and the hook, and then went to sleep and then wrote the next verse like maybe 2 days later or something. But I remember just being so like helpless and happy at the same time, because I was finally like, no, I'm supposed to be writing this music. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So yeah, but you brought up like the start of my career, but even then, right, that was kind of the start of when people started noticing me. But I had, even before I was sleeping in my car, I was probably 3 years before that, like making music videos and stuff. So, but yeah, I forgot what the question was. But
well, yeah, I mean, so first of all, with that said, the Perils is what put me onto you, as many people have had that experience. That song to me is so special. Thank you. No, you're welcome. It really is so beautiful. I found it right before I was living in this socialist farm village in Israel.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I ended up listening to that song so much throughout my time there. And it's interesting, like the way you put that. I was having such a profound, amazing experience, but also uncertain about like what is going to come of this. And just hearing that hook, "Can't wait to go home," just would hit me in the soul. Absolutely. Like when I first arrived, there was a guy, we were both hip hop fans, and he was like, "All right, I'm giving you 3 songs on the aux right now. Let's see like your taste, your style." And I put on your song, and he loved it. And yeah, and for people listening right now, especially if you are into hip hop and if you have a really good taste, jazz and hip hop, put on the Perils. Like, pause this podcast, listen to that song. It is such a good introduction to Old Man Saxon.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. What drove you to go to LA specifically?
So at CU, there's a lot of LA kids there. It's like LA, Chicago, like that's like the main places out of state, right? So I got to be friends with a lot of LA kids and like talented LA people who are like in film school at CU. One of them is Anthony Hayes, is the guy who like directs all of my videos, right? And Jason Adler, he's like the DP on all the videos. Went to CU. And then I had a friend, Andrew Bender, who runs a restaurant in LA. So there's these people out here with connections, and I was like, maybe if I just go out there, something will happen. And then another friend of mine from LA was this like social media manager at Konami, which is why I was able to get that job so easily, right? But I think even in that, like going to LA, like I can say it's like the connections or whatever, but there was always something that was told to me by one of my friend's dad, like when you're especially trying to be a rapper in Colorado, right? There is a closed-mindedness to this, and there's like this need, it's like ridiculous need to be number one in Colorado, right? Which means like not a lot actually, right? And one of my friends' dad told me while I was in LA, he said, if you're number one in Colorado, you're number one in Colorado, right? If you're number one in Georgia, you're number one in Georgia. But if you're number one in LA, you're number one in the world, right? Like that, Kendrick Lamar, right?
Yeah.
He's like the world's biggest rapper, right? And so Snoop Dogg, one of the world's most popular rapper, right? Comes from California, from LA. So there was probably like a deep need to be like, damn, I want to go out there and prove that I can make it, as opposed to do it here and be the number one rapper in Colorado, which means nothing, really. It means absolutely nothing. So I'm not on any of like the top 10 Colorado rapper lists, but people in New York know me. People who are camps in Israel,
Spain,
yeah,
Canada.
right?
I see it in your comments. sections.
Yeah, Ecuador, like all these places, and it's like,
and now the Philippines too.
Yeah,
yeah.
So yeah, I think there was probably a need to go out of where I was born, and just kind of get out of that bubble to see if I could do it in a bigger place.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I am curious though. I actually wrote this down. Does it matter to you representing Denver, and do you care about like Denver specifically knowing who you are?
Okay, so those are kind of two questions, because yes, it matters for me to represent where I came from, right? I think I'm one of the most Denver rappers.
Exactly. I was going to say that to you. I 100% agree.
Absolutely. Like, Denver's a weird place. Well, it's a funky, weird.
It's got the quirkiness.
Yeah, breweries and weird white dudes with weird mustaches. And it's like, it's like a funky place, right? And so I've always saw it in Denver. We have this weird thing, because we're in the middle of the country, that we get all our influences from. Like, some people get it from LA, some people, when I was in high school, listen to Cameron, some people listen to Memphis and Houston rap and all this, and so there's all these weird mix up of influences that makes Denver this weird place. And I think that's what Old Man Saxon came to be, is just like, yeah, I'm just a weird ass dude from Denver. Like, that's all it is. Even like the little so for anyone who listens, Old Man Saxon, I ain't never been in no water, I ain't never been on nobody's boat. That's just from like weird things that I've heard old black people in Denver say, right? It's just like, you never been on a boat? Like, my neighbor a couple weeks ago, he was just like, I ain't never been into the mountains and I ain't going. And I was like, yeah, that's Old Man Saxon. Like, weird fucking statement. So so do I feel the need to represent Denver? Yes. Do I feel a need for Denver to know who I am? No, because I'm doing this for the world's Denver. So even if you don't know that I'm from, I remember when I got done from Rhythm and Flow, there was some dude on Twitter like, "Oh man, Saxon, not from, he ain't from the city. I don't ever see him out in the streets." And I'm like, I think I responded, I'm at the dinosaur museum with my kids. Like, I don't know what you want from me, but like, if you don't see me doing what you think I should be doing in Denver, then you might not give me the exact same, like if I'm not out at the clubs and everything, you might not give me the same recognition as someone who is, but I am representing Denver to the world just by showing this weird ass rapper, right, that can rap too. Like, he's a weird, funky, 100%. Funny rapper that can rap.
Yes, it is such a unique style. I don't know anybody else that sounds like this, which is part of why I was thinking about Denver. And if you care about the influence, I mean, there are other cities throughout the U.S. that are, I feel like that people care a lot about. Like, I'm gonna make sure it's not just New York and L.A. And now, like, Atlanta's very much in the conversation. Yeah. And Texas has a lot of really good rappers. I totally agree that you, like, very much can really represent Denver. But I also sense the same thing based on, I feel like most of your presence is online, and it's your marketing, the way, like, it's something for everybody. So, absolutely. As far as the music videos, because that's such a big piece of your art, that's like really boosted a lot of your songs.
Absolutely.
What got you to do that, and how did you even go about? I love your music videos. You're welcome. They're very unique. So is the music, but it's like, it really makes it a different experience.
Absolutely. So that is the work of Anthony Hayes and Jason Adler and me as a collective, making Music video, because I think what happens with a lot of rap videos is they can be very easy to make and very basic, right? I'll never forget there was a time I was listening, going on my little YouTube rabbit hole of just listening to music, and there was a Katy Perry video, and it was chained to the rhythm, and she was on a roller coaster, and she was in the future, and she had this crazy suit, and it was like, whoa, that was crazy. You know, I don't need to watch it. I didn't like it, but it's just like, whoa, look at this.
Yeah.
And the next video was 21 Savage, and he was just standing on a car. Like, that was his money shot. It was like people who are really creative, Kendrick Lamar, Little Sims, like, it's like, whoa, look at these videos. So it can be done. So me, Anthony, Jason always wanted to create something that was eye-catching. Our very first video was our Off My Mind, where I'm just eating ice cream.
Yes.
Like, constantly,
Yeah.
right? And that was just from like, okay, we don't have money to do anything. We're not gonna just sit here and make a me just standing by a car sort of a video. So what can we do differently? And yeah, we got a bunch of ice cream, and I ate it for 3 minutes, right? Yeah. Right, and I think what a lot of people find entertaining in hip hop videos sometimes can also be problematic, right? Mm-hmm. I got guns and stuff like that, and I don't have guns. I don't, there's no way. So yeah, I think it's just all of my videos were born out of just going against the grain of what normal hip hop videos are.
Yeah, I think one big thing for you that you talk about in your TED Talk as well is keeping it real, being authentic, which a lot of people in your comments sections give you credit for. There's constantly people saying, like, don't change, keep doing what you're doing. Even though you're not getting the recognition you fully deserve, just stick with this. And I agree with them. I bring that up because, and this is fast forwarding a little bit, but we'll come back. When you were a professor of rap in Los Angeles, you had a big message to the kids about keeping it real. Like, let's talk about not, like, you were talking about how they had all these influences from big rappers about, and it's symbolic too, with standing on cars and holding guns. And you wanted them to just be real. And I think, like you said, the best example of you doing that, leading by example, is in the Perils.
Absolutely.
So yeah, how do you, how would you elaborate on that?
So I think the deeper thing in this is what it means to be real in hip hop, right? It's a specific sort of visual that you have in your mind. You say, what's a real rapper, right? And I think that's where it kind of goes wrong with a lot of new up-and-coming rappers, right? Instead of trying to be the person that is rapping, they just try to be a rapper, right? And in doing that, you're pretty much being a caricature of something. So, and when you think about what it means to, like, be real, it's to know yourself, right? And people go through deep spiritual journeys to figure out who they are, right? And I guess what I'm saying in this is it's not easy to just hop into hip hop and be like, I'm real, this is who I am. And especially when you're like, I started rapping when I was 13, but as a profession when I was like 20 something, right? But my brain's not even fully formed yet, right? So I think there's a deeper meaning to being real, and it's not directly falling in line as what to other rappers are doing, because that's immediately not real. And it's also not it's just not just being a rapper. It's about knowing who you are and then rapping about what you know. And that's why the Perils was so successful. Every line, this is what I mean by being real. Every line in that first verse is just something I did, right? 6 a.m. wake up, all alone. What can your boy say? Shit, shower, shave is taking because I remember having to go bathe or wash my body at the gym, shower and shave isn't just like I walk to the bathroom. I have to go from where I'm at, drive across the room, do all this. Shit, shower, shave, taking the whole day. Thinking with no pay, like trying to even think. I remember this so clearly. I was so broke one time during like the Perils phase that I was sitting there and I was scared to move
Wow.
because I thought it was going to cost money. Like, I was like, I just don't. And then I caught myself. I was like, okay, what am I doing? Like, breathe and shit. But thinking with no pay is like fucking with no size or cutting with no knife or trusting your hoe, right? Like, why? Interviews asking me where my stripper pole. But I can't drop the ball, so I spit, give, and go. I remember this, too. I'm sitting at Barnesdale Park in California, and I get a call because I just released, like, on Point, right? And it was, like, a good song, and some radio station in Miami played it. They wanted to call me and do an interview, and they're like, oh, you're out now? A stripper pole? Haha. No. Interviews asking me where my stripper pole, but I can't drop the ball. I just laugh with them. I rap, and then I hang up. That's all. But I can't drop the ball, so I spit, give, and go. If I give them that real shit I'm concealing, broke, no dough, and chilling, they're laughing me out the billing. They're not going to listen to that. No one wants to hear that. Can I use your restroom? Was me going into places, hey, I got to poop. Can I? No? What type of noise is that? I'm not like these other people. Most of these fools ain't loyal cats. They're smoking till the foil's black. Me saying, I'm not like these other people. I'm a rapper. I'm like, it was all just the what was going on at the time. Like, what's the next line? If I can, I forget it. But every line was just something that was happening at the time. And now my skill and me practicing how to rap and understanding what works, understanding myself, is because it is real stuff happening with talent, right? If that happened 5 years earlier and maybe it was 6 a.m. and I wake up and I don't know what to do, right? It's like, no, and I pick a weird beat with like, wham, 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 you know, like it was all those things happening at once. And that's what I mean by being real. It's not rushing things, not making yourself be something that you're not, understanding your experience and what's going on, and then being able to talk about it, having the talent to get that out of you, right?
Yeah, man, that is so beautiful. That brought a different feeling to the song. I already understood a lot of it, but there was more details there. So that's really awesome.
Oh, no, that's the rest. So
yeah.
I was just feeling okay. It's really to the foil's black. Sorry, like my bad. Trees started confessing means I'm just smoking weed in my car, just writing this. Departed with Wessons means like I'm start talking. Listen, that's me just getting into this. Maybe it's because I'm black. No excuse though. Just wanted a roof over my head. 2 hoes, skin black as Manute Bowl. Who knows? Just want to go home. That's it, right? So it's just like my feelings and thoughts and things that I'm having coming out with the talent that I've accumulated over the years. And yeah, I think you have so much more for any aspiring rapper. You have so much more possibilities out there if you just wait and experience things and then talk about them instead of forcing your experiences through your song.
100%. So in being so authentic, and like I said, your fans love it, does it bother you at all that you're underground, that you're considered underground and not fully recognized?
And you're right, I get those messages a lot, like you should have more views, like, and I agree 100%. But is like the acknowledgement that this person knows that I'm good. So that one, I was built my whole career off of one fan at a time. For the longest time, that's all it was, just one fan. And now I have all these fans, and they're saying, hey, you should have more fans, but I got you. So I'll take that. I'll take that one fan. And the thing that gets me, I would say, frustrated a little bit is the mockery of hip hop now, right? Is people kind of making just anything in these. It seems like, it seems like hip hop is being mocked more than it is being celebrated, and that's the frustrating part for me. It's not that I'm underground, that I should have more. It's the people that are kind of making a caricature of rappers and being successful off of that. That is the frustrating part.
Interesting. Well, still, nonetheless, like even though the numbers may not be super high, I want to hear about your experience performing in front of Snoop Dogg, the self-proclaimed father of rap.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cardi B, Chance the Rapper, and how even they reached out to you. I will say too, truthfully, a lot of people, as you know, in your comment sections will talk about This was Rhythm and Flow. And a lot of people got into your music because you made such an impression on there. I saw your performance, like the initial performance, which was awesome. And you had all of the hosts just like loving it. That's all I saw, though. I did not see the show. So, really, wow. Interesting. Wow.
I had probably 5 minutes of screen time on that. Watched my...
Well, okay, so yeah, there we go. Neither one of us. But how was it performing in front of those people and with such confidence? Like, you nailed the Old Man Saxon thing. Like, you really showed them who you are. You're welcome.
Thank you. So that... I'm glad you put it in those terms of like you got to perform in front of Snoop Dogg, because that was the big one for me, right? T.I., Cardi B, Chance, these are all rappers that kind of came to had popularity once I was a grown up, right? But Snoop is like, I'm like, oh, this is a person I've listened to since a kid, right? Amazing. So it was, and they didn't tell us he was going to be there, right?
Oh, wow.
We knew coming up. So let's start from the beginning, right? I was, during my time of being professor in LA at Musician Institute, I had a mentor and my boss, her name was Deborah Bird. She passed away, but great woman. She got me that job at that school. She was like the vocal coach for American Idol, like big... I think she like went on tour with like Barry Manilow. Or like, you know, she's like one of those people, like very amazing singer. But she was like, hey, I have this friend who's doing this show and it's called Untitled Hip Hop Project right now. That's all we know. And I was like, no, I won't do that. And she's like, no, just try it out. It should be fun. And I signed up for it and got in. And right when I got the like message that, hey, you're about to be in Rhythm or this Untitled Hip Hop Project, I had moved back to Denver. So I was like, okay, let me go back out to LA, do the audition. But it's the audition to even do the audition, right? You have to go in a hotel room or not a hotel room, that sounds weird. Like a hotel ballroom and like do that and everything. So we did that. I get on and then we go and we now know it's Rhythm and Flow. We know that it's Cardi, Chance, T.I. And so I'm backstage and the first guy goes out and he does his thing and he comes back and he's like, Snoop's out there. And I was just like, what? What do you mean?
How do you just surprise me?
Yeah, it's a crazy thing to do, right? And so, you know, the cool thing about all of it though was the confidence you bring up that I had. When that show came out, there was a lot of people being like, you just blew up out of nowhere. Like, look at this guy. Like, that show was 8 years worth of stuff happening to get to that moment. It was not just like, rap show, okay. Like, it was like, no. I've worked on Old Man Saxon as a character for maybe, 5-6 years up into that moment, and then been rapping, extra years before that. But yeah, the confidence was there because during the time, right before we we're all rappers, quote unquote, and everyone's like, yeah, rapping. They're rapping in their ciphers and their circles, and I'm quiet. I'm just sitting there, just watching them. And in my mind, I'm like, you're wasting energy right now. What do y'all do? Making friends, and I've heard your music, and I was just sitting there, and it was finally like, all right, rehearsal time before we go live. Saxon, go up there. And I go up there and I'm Old Man Saxon. I ain't never been in no water. I ain't never been in nobody's boat. And everyone's like, what the fuck? and even in the rehearsal, DJ, I'm ready to play my song. And everyone's like,
musical performance.
Yeah, I did that. They took the shot. If you go back and see it, when I turn my head and DJ, I'm ready for my musical performance. That was from the rehearsal, actually, right? So I did that, right? And I do the, might nobody cop will not drop. And I just see the other rappers are like, oh, yeah, okay. And that is where the confidence came from. Once I got up, I was like, yeah, like I can do this. Got on stage, hidey ho. Like even from there, you can tell like, oh, I got y'all. Like I already got you. So yeah, the confidence came from building that character for years and years and years. And even the tagline and all that was just like, it all is work. And I think that's something that a lot of people need to understand too, is the process of things. We always see the end result of everything, right? Everything we see right now is the end result, right? But there needs to be a little bit more spotlight on that process. So that's where that confidence came from, was the process of years and years of building that character.
Yeah, very clearly you were ready for that moment. That's awesome. I'm glad that put you on the map. And then from there, how did you end up getting the TED Talk?
Oh, so I got the TED Talk before Rhythm and Flow. Actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got the TED Talk. So I released the Perils. The Perils came out, and then maybe like 4 or 5 months after the Perils, I got contacted by Hamilton College to do the TED Talk, and I didn't know what to talk about. But yeah, my wife, me, the Hamilton College started to like talk about like what is the lesson in this, right? And yeah, we came up with something that was really cool, right? The idea that there's like no rites of passage for Black men, really, right? And for me, it was a shock. I was just 25 and homeless now. It's like, what happened? Like, when was I supposed to be a man? It's like, oh, I guess right now, right? And so, yeah, we really broke down and had a deep dive into like what that means for rappers and Black kids to not have these rites of passage and not to know when I'm a kid. Listen, brains aren't fully formed, and shaping my thoughts around that, and it's nuts, right? And yeah, that TED Talk was kind of the birth of even what I'm doing now, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But yeah.
I feel like maybe we have to talk about it now, because I was just thinking the same thing based on what you're saying with the influence that comes from listening to hip hop. After our initial call, I found out you posted the video. I saw it on YouTube of your nonprofit, and yeah, I think let's get right into it. We can go back, but I feel like you have a really awesome thing that you're starting right now.
So yeah, I'll start this with saying like I got to a point in making music where I felt like it wasn't impactful and it wasn't helpful, not even for me, right? And so I started to get into like how, because there was a time where like before this last album was like, I'm retiring, and it's such a baby thing to say, just because like things aren't feeling right now. Like people aren't either like consuming my music the same. I'm not having like a good enough feeling doing it. I'm retiring. But that's just sort of a thing you say when things aren't aligned. And so I was like, all right, that's ridiculous. I'm going to always make music. If this was the 1400s, there'd be a blacksmith, a doctor, and I'd be in the corner and playing music. That's just who I'm going to be, right? So I was like, how else can I do this? So I went to it's a cohort that is called Music to Life, and they try to get these artists to be activists and use their music to do something else. Like some people already had an idea, like they do hip-hop workshops, traveling hip-hop workshops. There's another woman who did a thing for Black women in country music. So there's like this group of people, and I got there and I was like, okay, I want to do something. I want to do a men's group where men, hip-hop or rappers, can talk about their feelings in a way that we can actually get out our songs without like just like spewing shit the first time we think of it, because that is what it is too with hip-hop, right? A lot of rappers, like their very first songs are just about nothing, right? And the nothing is usually about making money, getting girls, shooting someone, hurting someone, because that's the easiest thing to do. It's the easiest thing to spew out. There's so many flips you can do with guns and money and so much. But so my thought was like, let's sit around and let's like have some time to actually think about our thoughts and then make the song, right? But then I started getting into like, I want to do something with kids. Like I want to do something with kids, because to some extent, our OGs of hip hop have kind of failed us. They did not like lead us to like a better place. They left it in a shittier place, right? And it was because of competition and all that. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why that might be. But then I started going into kids. I was like, let me think about kids. And at first I started making this kid's character called Boo Boo Owie. He's this guy from the future who teaches kids about like rap songs and stuff. And then in that, and this is where it starts getting good, I was like, I never saw myself in the future. I don't remember being a kid and being like, even when someone's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I was like, oh, a firefighter. I was just picturing myself as a kid firefighter, right? Like a little kid with like the big, like the sleeves hanging down, fighting fires. It was like, I never actually thought about it. And you can think about whatever reasons those might be, but then I started going into the music I was listening to. There's 2 songs, you've heard this. It's Ice Cube, Today Was a Good Day. He says, I hooked it up for latest. I hit the dope, thinking, will I live another 24? Coolio, a couple years later, Gangster's Paradise. I'm 23 now. Will I live to see 24? The way things are going, I don't know. So these leaders of culture might not even be there for you. And if we just cut the music for that, just of your culture is just saying, hey, I don't know about your future. It's hard out there. It might not make it, but these bitches and the money and the hoes, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what I want. And so we started to follow these people telling us about us not having a future. In that same breath, there's a study that shows that musicians die younger than the national average. In the same study, it shows that rappers die younger than all other musicians. Rappers die 35 years younger than the national average. And I think that once I started to realize that, I realized, oh, that can't keep happening, right? There's no one doing anything about it. So then I started listening to a lot of hip hop, lots of hip hop, just with a thought in mind, how does this speak about the future? And it doesn't, hip hop for the most part, and there's a couple of songs, we gonna be, right? Speaking about the future, and the be all right. Nas, I know I can be what I want to be in the future. I know I can be. Nappy Roots has a song, and it's gonna have a good day. But even in that song, ain't nobody gonna die today. It's like, holy shit. Like, so there is a scare, like a worry about the future in hip hop. So I started going into schools and asking kids, and I'm not a researcher by any means, so I know there's probably a better way to do this, but I said, hey, what's the maximum age you see yourself, and who's your favorite artist? And there's these kids whose artists are the favorite artists, King Von, XXXTentacion, artists who have passed due to gun violence, right? And these kids are seeing themselves in 19, 20, 21, 22. These kids listening to gospel, pop, seeing themselves living to 80, 90, 3,000. One of them was like, oh, wow, like that's amazing. Because what's gospel about? Faith, right? Hope, R&B, love for another person. Hip-hop, mainstream hip-hop, especially the artists that they are saying are their favorite artists, harming other people, barely making it to the next day, getting into shootouts and surviving and all these things, and then they die. And so these kids, their favorite artist, the person you see yourself in no longer exists. And hip hop has a problem with a lot of their artists getting to an age where you can go, oh, that's who I want to be. So that was sort of the start of, even if I'm like, my hypothesis in this is wrong, that people who listen to hip hop see themselves die or don't see themselves in the future, even if that's wrong, there is still a space and a need for what I'm doing, which is going into schools and teaching these children about sort of media literacy, about why hip hop is the way it is and why you should not just be blindly following. And then teaching these kids how to make songs specific out their future, not the stuff that they're hearing, but as also a way to like write some shit down and then make it happen, right? Because once I start just getting into like, once you start to think about it from this lens of, for hip hop, Black empowerment has always been bad for their business. Once you start thinking of it from that lens, you can't continue to just let it happen how it's happening. So yeah, I'm in these schools, like that's kind of my full-time thing. I still make music, got an album coming out, but that's kind of the thing that I'm doing right now.
Yeah, you picked a beautiful name for it. It's called Healing Futures, and there is so much of that mentorship and emphasis on mental health. And I'm wondering, well, so in between everything we're talking about, were you, when you moved back to Denver, did you continue teaching?
No. When I moved back to Denver, I got a job as a waiter.
Oh, wow.
That was my first thing because I had just signed a publishing deal. I got a fresh $20,000 check, which goes so fast. I went immediately with 2 kids and a wife, right? But there was no place in here. It's just like like in LA, a musicians institute where people are going to school to learn about hip hop or learn to be a music, like a college like that, right? And if there was no place that had like a hip hop curriculum, or weren't interested at the moment. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna work at this new restaurant called Ashkara. It's like a Mediterranean restaurant. It's delicious. Yeah, and I worked there until Rhythm and Flow happened. Rhythm and Flow was filmed in like February of 2019 and didn't air until November of 2019. So this whole time I'm just thinking like, damn, like I can get out of this, but I need the show to drop. But yeah, no tension, just work. And luckily, to be a performer, that was always a great way to.
And I bet a lot of that is because I don't remember where I saw you mention this, but when you were doing the Perils, that you had to like put on a face to people in order to just get by when nobody knows what you're going through in the background.
Yeah, well, that's part of the second verse of the Perils, like, because I say somewhere in Silver Lake, because I was trying to tell people like where I live. It was like somewhere, because I used to purposely, I think it's in the TED Talk, ask people where they lived first, so I could tell them I lived on the other side of town. So you'd be like, oh, okay, I don't know anything about that. But yeah, I had to constantly put on this face because at the time I'm doing the Perils, I'm still a rapper, right? And in my mind, nobody wants to hear about a broke rapper. And I think I even did myself a disservice by waiting until I was not homeless anymore to release the album. Once I filmed the video for the Perils, that's reenactment. I went back. It was my friend's dad's car. I had when I was sleeping in my car, I had a 2003 Ford Explorer Sport, but it ended up getting towed so much. I got a boot once while I was sleeping in the back of my car.
No.
And I was so upset. And the guy was right there. I was like, please, sir, like all of my shit in this car, please do not tow my... Oh, well, I got to do it now. I was like, why are you like this? Why are you like this? But yeah, no, I had to... And that's what I mean, like, when you think of the thought of a successful rapper, it's not a guy screaming at a person to not tow his 2003 Ford Explorer Sport, right? But it was once I got out of it, I was just like, damn, that was crazy. People need to hear this. People 100% need to hear this album. And yeah, I think I'm kind of phony too, because if I was like... I could have put it out while I was still homeless and like took that criticism too, because I think there was some part of me that was like, well, I'm not homeless anymore. Listen to this that I went through, right? But yeah, no, it was a hard time in that way of like constantly keeping a secret from everybody, pretty much. Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you for putting that out after. I still think you shared a very strong message, but so 2024 you put out 2 albums. One of them, and this is when you were talking before, I was thinking about how it sounded this way in the music. You were talking about feeling discontent, like you weren't putting out enough of a message, and you were thinking about retirement. General malaise, I feel like I hear that. Like you sound a little bit, I don't know if it's like drained, but you're like tired of something.
Absolutely.
But this has been a consistent thing throughout your albums, and you've tried different styles. You put a positive, like you give yourself a mantra, which like in the song Need, which we're going to talk about the Philippines for sure. I love that song. The writing is so clever. You're welcome. But General Malaise, and then you also in 2024 put out We Are Enough, which that one, when I look up your albums online, I don't see it. And is it specifically, well, I guess now I'm asking you about both, but let's go with the We Are Enough album first. Yep. That one was that meant for kids? And that was... Yeah.
So that was meant... one of the songs on there is just like such a kid song, like have you ever been mad? I have, right? That like just like for kids. And I remember writing that song because I think but then you start to like do more stuff with the song and you think like, oh, okay, this is actually cool, right? But for that song, I remember writing it and almost crying because I was like, I have felt bad. I have felt sad. Like, I hope this like kids to help with their emotions. But then I started from that, which is probably the first kid song I ever wrote. It started to be more about getting in tune with an older group of kids, right? And to show like that you can, because I know that there's not going to be 11-year-olds that are going to listen to "Have You Ever Been Mad?" I have. Like, that's for like babies type of stuff.
I enjoyed it.
No, thank you. Thank you. But then it started to be more about like actual songs that they can sing to. So one of the songs called "We Are Enough."
Yeah.
Or, like that's what you need to be saying as a kid. There's some times during these like workshops for Healing Futures that I sit the kids down and we have like a media literacy thing where I ask them, "Hey kid, what's a song you don't want your parents to know you're listening to that you listen to?" Right? Boom, let's pull it up. All right, let's go through the lyrics and let's see what's going on. And I'll never forget, it's a lyric. It's like cooking chicken in the kitchen, right? And I asked, "Hey, what do you think that means?" He said, "I think it means it's cooking chicken." Like, it's about cooking crack cocaine. It's slang for cooking crack, right? And so these kids are just saying shit, and they're like, "Yeah, cooking chicken in the," and it's not. It doesn't fit with hip hop's original values, and I think that's where it gets. That's what frustrates me, is when we start saying things are hip hop when it doesn't. And so, yeah, this song or this album, "We Are Enough," is for baby, and their songs for preteens, teenage kids, to get them to start thinking of a way to say things that are not actually harmful to them, right? And even when I say these things, I always have to catch myself, because I want to reiterate how much I love hip-hop and what it's done for me, what it's done for the world. But I think there's hip-hop gets defensive when we start pointing out its flaws.
Yeah.
And I think it's good that I'm coming from a place as a rapper, a person who's been in the culture and experienced it and done shows and helped. I feel like I'm a good voice to poke at it a little bit and try to get it to like just see some of its blind spots, right? But yeah, that was one of the ways I did it, was by releasing that album.
Yeah, I respect that. I mean, I have a friend who I was recently speaking with. He's been
Becoming more religious. He's Muslim. And there was the night
when Kendrick dropped Mr. Morale. We stayed up and we listened to that. And the last Kendrick album, I reached out to him and asked him if he was listening, and he said, "No, I'm not. I'm not sure." And then when I met up with him in person, he was explaining like, I have to be cognizant about what I'm putting in, and I think there's real power to that, because. And it really depends on the artist that we're talking about, and of course the song, the lyrics, everything. But I do believe that it's worth being mindful about. Like hip-hop, for me, I listen to it for the sound first more than anything, and then eventually I start soaking in the lyrics. But sometimes subconsciously you could be taking it in. And I agree with your hypothesis that these rappers, and there's so many rappers, including rappers that I do listen to still, that rap about dying. One of my favorites is Mac Miller, and he died from a drug overdose, and there was so much of that, but it's so beautiful to listen to. But I do believe it's worth pointing out that, hey, there's a problem here. Like, let's be mindful, and I think there are other underground rappers that are doing this too. I think it's beautiful to just try to put out a really strong, like a positive, mindful message with this art form, because you're right, it is such a good art form, and we shouldn't just be using it for like cheap entertainment for people's like impulsive gratification. Like it's beautiful. Let's do something special.
And it can still have those songs, right? It can still exist like that. And I think though there is a sense of we got it. We got that part of it. Like we have so much of that now. Let's just try to shift a little bit, right? Because to some extent there be the person to be like, hey, rappers, don't talk about your experiences. Like if you're going through stuff and you're having issues about your future and thinking about it, fine, go ahead, talk about it. Like I said before, what I'm worried about is people's people doing the caricature of a rapper because they know that that's what rappers talk about, then I'm going to talk about it, right? And that's where it gets confusing. I remember there was a whole time, there was this rapper Slim Jesus that came out a while ago, a white dude, and he had a video with a bunch of guns in it, and he said in the beginning, like, all these are props, these are unreal, da, 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 da. And it's like, oh, okay, wait, what? Wait, so no, like, you can't, that's ridiculous, right? I think hip-hop has had a lot of strikes against it that I think as a person in the culture back to back, right? And he's like, oh, it's a strike against rap. Since when does that okay to start things like that and even do it? So you're not being authentic, quote unquote. Another one was Rick Ross when he became, I was a correctional officer, now I'm a rapper. And no one was like, people were like, ha ha, like Rick Ross. But it's like, no. You're not even just like a police officer. You're policing the people that have already been in jail. So you're like really just like not part of hip hop at all, right? Goes against hip hop's value. And the last one, as of recently, was Young Dolph. When Young Dolph died, there was this trial for his murder. In the trial, the defendant, the dude who killed him, is on the stand. The lawyer asks him, did you think by murdering this dude that you would be more likely to get a record deal? He said, yeah.
Wow. I didn't know.
And it should have been the headline news of rap.com. It should have been all over the place. We're now at a point where our talents don't dictate if we're a rapper or not. It's our dangerous movements that we do outside of it. That's somehow you killing someone makes you qualified to be a rapper. Yeah, I believe that. Whoa, time out, rap. Let's figure out. Let's huddle up and figure this shit out, because that thought just got one of our greats murdered. It's nuts. It's an insane thing to think about.
Yeah, it's sad. It is sad. Damn. But I wanna hear. Well, what other genres of music influence you?
Oof.
Jazz for sure.
Jazz, absolutely.
Sax. You put the sax in sax.
Yeah, I wish I played the saxophone.
Do you produce?
Not like my old stuff. Like Perils, no.
Okay.
A lot of my old stuff, no. I didn't trust myself, right? And I remember at a point where I was finally got Logic on my computer the first time, and I was like, I'm gonna start making beats, and I realized how hard it was, and I realized where I was also as a rapper. And so I made the decision I'm not gonna start making beats now. I'm just gonna focus on my writing, get my writing better, and then when I feel like I'm adequate at writing and rapping, I'll start to make beats again. So General Malaise is all me. That's my first album of just my production.
Nice,
right?
Good for you.
Yeah, thank you. That was a big deal. And so, yeah, I didn't make any of my own beats early on, but now a lot of it is me. But yeah, I forgot the question.
Yeah.
Well, it was just which genres of music influence you other than hip hop.
So jazz, Adderley, Miles Davis, he had all these like names that I had never heard of. So for sure that, but also I would rap a lot over like sort of beats.
Really?
When I was in like college and stuff, because it was Boulder, right? There was like people listening to a bunch of that. Oh, I'll rap over it. But yeah, I would say jazz, EDM. But what I listen to now and what influences me now is music without lyrics. Like I can't, or foreign lyrics, something that I can't understand. Because when I'm listening to actual like English, especially like rap, there's not a lot that influences me. I'm entertained by it, but it's not a lot that's like, yeah, except Kendrick, of course. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's not a lot of hip hop that influences me. So much so that when I wrote the Perils that year, I didn't listen to any rap. I was not listening to any rap because I felt like it would influence my first album. And so I was just listening to my beats and like talk radio. That's all I was listening to. Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. And then also, well, I want to hear about your experience in the Philippines and the lessons you learned. And the music video Grits is so funny.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That one has actually made me laugh out loud multiple times.
That was actually, I think that's one of my first videos that I just did myself, right?
Wow.
The Philippines is so dope. It's such a because I made the song Need before I went to the Philippines.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought that must have been after.
The
it was
video,
such a good perspective.
Yeah, the video is what influenced that part of it, right? But I made the song. I made the song just because we were just sitting at the dinner table, and I was just like, "Yeah, this is it. Like, I don't need anything else. Everything else is some extra shit, right?" And so, yeah, that's where that song came from.
I love how you twisted. You took the negative feeling of I'm fed up, enough is enough, to be I'm fed up, enough is enough. Yeah, I love that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that came from the dinner table.
So
exactly.
smart. That's you can make art out of the most little things.
Absolutely. That comes from a real place, right? Making a song about bountiful dinner, and that's what you came out of, right? Instead of being like, let me just write some shit. It's like, no, have the experience and then figure out a way to use your talent to translate that experience into a song. But yeah, that came from the dinner table, and then we ended up going to the Philippines to kind of celebrate my wife's mom's passing and spread her ashes and stuff, right? And so we're there, and I'm just looking at all of these people that, like, there is a wealth gap there, right? But no one cares. Like, they don't care. They're just sitting there. Everyone has like a shop that sells the exact same shit right next to each other. Like, everyone just selling the same shit, just chilling. And they just felt like this is it for them. Like, this is their version of it. They have everything they need on this little island right here. And it was just such a beautiful thing to complement the song. And it all hit right there. And I wish I had more shots of like people just eating, because that's where it came from too. But yeah, the Philippines was great. It was like a life-changing experience to see that you can just be chill. Like, you don't need. Yeah, they did not care. The class difference was not a thing there. Like, mentally. Yeah. Mentally, it wasn't. No.
It's nice sometimes I love America, but to get away and zoom out and see like how humanity can function in a non super high pressure capitalist society. So
absolutely.
How long were you there?
2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. Yeah.
Nice. Did you meet a lot of people when you were there?
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. But I was with my wife, kids, and that's the other thing I loved about it. Everything's so cheap, man. I went to a bar there, like on the beach, right? And I go there and I say, their like national drink is called Tanduay. It's like a rum, right? And I go there and I say, can I have a double Tanduay? Oh, okay. It ended up being, the cost was like $2 American, right? And I'm like, oh, great, amazing. And he brought me a whole bottle. Brought me a fifth of it. I'm like, for $2, right? And it's like, yeah, I love that, right? Because part of that too, like the realization of that is, what would it mean to be a rapper when money isn't the like focal point, right? They're just out there living. And I remember when we flew back in to San Francisco and I got a damn avocado toast and it was like $60, and I was like, oh my God, like this is stressful. Yeah, this is where this comes from, is being a rapper. I'm always talking about how I need money and all these things, and I was so curious of like what would it mean to be a rapper if money wasn't the goal, right? That's another thing I learned from there. It's just like, yeah, there's so much more to talk about. And in some ways, like, we've gotten to a point where hip hop is like co-opting the imagination of its participants, right? We're just like, no, you don't have to, no, you're fine. Just rap about that thing. Whatever that is, that's going to get you up on the top of the charts. That's what it is. But it's like, yeah, you're co-opting our imagination. There's so much more to talk about. Yeah, but yeah, that was it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you do any other traveling too, or was mostly
that was all Philippines. I mean, I've traveled before. I did a show in Czech Republic at this festival that was so dope. I love that. Nice. But that's the other thing. I don't like performing that much.
Really?
I don't. Dudes, let me tell you this.
And just to let people know, like, this is the guy that wears a 3-piece suit at every performance and goes off. I forgot which video. There was one video, and I'm also wondering if it was performed in Denver, but you're in this 3-piece suit, sweating, but, like, really going in. And the way it was filmed,
like VHS sort of?
Yeah.
That's,
so you know what I'm talking about.
that was Oh You Ain't Know. And that was actually in LA. That was in LA. Yeah, that was so let me set it straight. I like performing. I like being on stage and performing the songs, right? Okay. But this is the story that broke me. All right, I had a show in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Right? And I practiced for the show, prepared, made a set list, I bought a plane ticket. I go to the airport, catch a train in the airport, take a flight, I land in Tulsa. I have all my stuff. I got to remember my stuff. I had a 3-piece suit, my computer, my interface, my mic. Okay, cool. I go get my bag from the baggage claim. I go outside. Someone picks me up from the airport. Hey, Joe. All right, Joe, let's take me to the venue. I do a sound check, right? Sound check was well. Take my stuff, go to the hotel, sit around, eat some disgusting food, come back to the venue, listen to the people who are in front of me finish up. I perform. I leave. I go. I order Pizza Hut. It's late. I fall asleep in my room. And when I woke up, I was still in Oklahoma, and it fucked me up. I was like, this cannot happen. I just got paid for an hour of my work, but I just spent 24 hours away from my family doing all of this stuff that is not rap related. It's not. So unless I'm doing a show across the street, I cannot stand it. And I remember being relieved when COVID happened because I had a 20-city tour. COVID messed me up and helped me so much, right? Because that was like the height of Rhythm and Flow. Everyone started to see the show. Let's go out and tour, and it got canceled. And I was like, oh, thank God. And that's when I realized, like, oh, I have to start flipping around what I'm doing. But yeah, I like performing. I like doing it, but there's so much other stuff that I'm just not even getting paid for. Excuse me. That you have to do, and it's terrible. It's just terrible.
Well, would you say being a father changed your career in a significant way? Yeah.
100%. Well, because if I was 19 and going on tour, oh yeah, absolutely. Let's just go. Let's do whatever we need to do. But part of that COVID canceling relief was my daughters were, I think, 1 and 3 at the time. And I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready to miss that time, right? Like maybe I'm like being like this overly, oh, I'm a girl dad sort of thing, but it was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want whatever I'm about to do, whatever fun I'm about to do. My wife's going to have the complete opposite of that. She's going to have as much fun as I'm having. She's going to have the opposite. So I was going to miss them growing up for those couple of months, all that. And so, yeah, you have to open up a different part of your mind when you have kids. And no, you know what? Maybe you don't have to, but it would behoove you to do that, right? I always say it's like hard to act. It's hard to be a good parent. It's easy to be a terrible parent. It's like one of the easiest things you could possibly do. You just act like your kids don't exist. But it's hard, and you have to open up that part. So yeah, everything changed. Everything changed with them.
Well, that's admirable. I mean, you seem to always put your life, your humanity, your values first.
Absolutely.
And fatherhood, that's extremely important.
Yeah.
So, good for you.
Thank you, baby.
You're welcome. I would love, I mean, if you're performing in Denver at all, you'd perform nicely with a band, I feel like.
That was my thing when I first
when you were on a van with a band, right?
Yes, jamming the van.
Yeah,
that was like my thing, was to have keys, because the dude who made my very first beats that I started working with, Spencer Peterson, he's still out there, he still sends me beats, great person. We would he was a keyboard player. He went to MI, and his friend, who was also my buddy, Luke, was a bass player, and then they knew a guitar player, and then we found a trumpet player. So we had this, and it was such a good show, right? But I personally have never been a fan of rap band shows because I want to hear that bass. Like, I want to hear the boom, 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 boom. Like, I want to hear that type of thing, right? But one of the times we had a show was for So Far Sounds, and we had to get people to rehearse and practice and all these things, and there was just so much stuff to have to deal with that after that show, I never played with a band again. Never again. Not saying I wouldn't do it again, but that was why it was like, I can just do it on my own.
Yeah, it is such a to-do. I could definitely see that. I do feel like if there's a special occasion, like if you get a tiny desk or something, and you get the sax in there and some keys, oh my god.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you were to ever get, like, you would kill that for sure. Yeah. I was just going to ask you, well, I guess one other thing that actually I was also thinking about is how do you usually go about expressing yourself through your music? And like general malaise too. I want to talk about that because it seemed like you were expressing the stress.
Yeah, I think I'm only writing really, and this is just a me thing, when I have something to say. A lot of the times I'll just rap something. Like I just released a video yesterday, it's like a random rap. But even in that, it's like, oh, I'm saying something, right? I am, as a man in a house full of, women, I have my wife and 2 daughters. I am 4th place. I'm always going to be 4th place. Like, there's no world in which I'm not 4th place, right? So whenever I even have an issue, it's always like I have to, something has to like burn down for me to be like, I have something to say now, right? And so that's just what it is. It's not like a problem, but it's just what it is. And so for me, that is my place to say the things I have to say is when I'm writing a song, right? So yeah, in general, malaise, right? It is, that whole thing is just, I'm just like, I'm just done with all of this, right? It's about like how other rappers have gotten me to be done with this. It's about how, it's a lot of just, I'm tired. I'm tired. And then, actually, I wrote at least 3 albums in 2024. I released another one so long that's just like about another one of how I'm done. I'm done with how things are at the moment.
Which you also made it very comedic with those clips on
YouTube.
Thank you. You're awesome.
Yeah, no, that's the thing I've always felt like I've been good at is adding comedy to just anything that I do. Even like the serious stuff, right? With Hell Yeah, right? It's this fun video, and then I get shot at the end, right? But it's like, oh, it's funny. And it's like, I'm always kind of trying to get people to like, have these emotional like thoughts or like roller coaster thoughts while listening. But I would say that me writing music is the way that I just get any of my thoughts out. Like, because I don't hang out with a lot of people. I don't talk. There's some days when my wife goes to work somewhere else and my kids are at school that they'll come home and I'll be like, hi, and I'm like, oh, I haven't said anything all day. What was that noise that came out of me? I haven't talked to anyone. I've just been sitting here working. So yeah, that's when I'm writing something now, I feel like I have something to say, as opposed to when I was first starting to rap, I was writing to just say something,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I have 2 questions with that. One, with the comedy thing, are you interested in doing maybe stand-up or any other form of comedy?
I did one open mic in LA.
Okay, nice.
And I killed it.
Nice, good for you.
I just did the Old Man Saxon character.
Yeah.
But with no music. I just did like a bunch of my little bits. And it was like,
Did you write first? Like you prepared for this?
Yeah,
nice.
I prepared it all. And it went really well. And I don't know what... I've always loved stand-up comedy too, but I guess I'm a little afraid to start over with something artistic like that.
Totally, I get that.
Yeah, but I definitely have.
I actually did try stand-up too for some time. Yeah.
How'd it go?
So first one also went well.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm scared of.
That's the thing. That's the thing. And then you get like, I was all nervous, and then all of a sudden people are laughing, and I'm like, whoa, didn't know I was good at this. And then not so much. Yeah. But, I actually did it 7 times. There were some good, some bad.
Nice.
Yeah. But I will say that I see what you're saying with not only starting another art, but also I think, and I don't know, it depends on the person, but at least I feel like we might be able to relate on this. I think music you can express more. Comedy has to be funny, and your music you have a mix.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I feel like when you want to write, and when you just want to sit down and let out what you want to let out, I think at least what I experienced was comedy like forced me to do it a certain way. Glad I experienced it because it taught me that, and then I wanted to see what else. And currently writing a book.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
And I think, I mean, if I had the musical ability that you have, I'd go for music.
Yeah,
I think that's
absolutely.
the coolest part.
It is the best.
Yeah,
Because like I've done stuff, like when I shoot music videos, I see what it takes to make like a video. It's like so many people and time and preparation and all of these things. And for some songs on General Malaise, I made it in one day. It's just like, okay, that's it, right? And then you mix it and master it. But yeah, there's something really cool about not needing a lot to make it, but also like what you're saying, not having a lot of restriction to making music that makes it amazing. Yeah, you're so right. Even with comedy, right? You can be serious, but it always has to come back.
It has
to being funny. Yeah, that's an interesting thought.
Yeah, and then this is totally different, but are you interested in collaborating with anybody out there? Like, is there anyone in particular?
So I'm at a time now, and if anyone's listening to this, just hit me up. I have been if people knew how easy I was to collaborate with, they would just ask me all the time. I just did a feature for this one dude, and he was like, "Oh, how much?" And I said, "It's $100." Like, I just don't, and I'll only charge you a little bit. I might even charge you $5. I just need the motivation to do it, right? And if it's just like, yeah, just whatever, I was like, okay, I'll do this never. But give me some money and I'll $50. Yeah. But yeah, I'm open to collaborate with as many people as possible with the stipulation that I can express myself in the way that I want to.
Yeah,
and
good.
Yeah, I don't necessarily want to be on a song that's not with something that I align with, right? But if you feel like you have something that you want me on, oldmansaxon@gmail.com. Hit me up. We can make something work.
Yeah, definitely. I was curious about that too because you have such a unique style. I don't know who you would mesh in, but the thing is, I can also see you doing super well with someone who has a completely different style.
But yeah, I think I've done a job at changing my style of rap just throughout my career to show that I'm more of a fan of music than I am of hip hop, and I love hip hop, but I'm always gonna go towards what I feel like I want to make. Like Try Again, that song is like pretty much like a rock song with like a rap verse. I just want to make the best possible thing, and then we can put in a genre later.
Yeah, you just want to make art.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah.
So I want to if you have, do you have anything else you want to say with Healing Futures?
Yeah. If you want to help with Healing Futures, you can donate 3thingsco.org. And yeah, I think there's a lot to say in it that I don't need to get into now, but it's like I think it's a pretty important thing to be doing. Yeah, and I'll have a lot more videos about it upcoming, in an upcoming series that I have called The Evolution of the Op.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask about. That
yeah, because, and even that, just to talk about that for a little bit, it's to kind of deep dive a little bit more into why hip-hop is the way it is, right? In our first episode, which will be coming out next week, it's literally about the evolution of the op in hip-hop, right? When hip-hop first started, right, the opposition was always like another MC, right? But that in those rap battles, it's never about violence against the other person, right? It's about how my talent's better than you. I rock the crowd. You don't rock you pay for your rhyme, sort of thing, right? And then something crazy happened. We got into hip hop being a tool for change, Public Enemy, fight the power. Rap. Is there a coincidence there? Is it a coincidence now that type of music is the most commercial thing? So we'll deep dive into the history of governments suppressing art that they don't find fit for them. McCarthy being any type of art that's anti-capitalist, we ban, right? The government has had history of banning art from people that go against them. So I think that and then, we'll tie it up at the end of what we can do better, but I think getting these sort of messages to kids in a way that's palpable and easily consumable for them is imperative if we want hip hop to grow at all and stop letting things just happen to us in a culture that we created. Stop letting other outside forces dictate what it means to be a rapper. So a lot of things like that, but yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I'm definitely going to tune in. That's exciting.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And how would you say, what is the trajectory of your career for the most part now with the music, with the work that you're doing in this nonprofit, the videos, everything?
I think I feel like like I said earlier in this, the OGs have kind of failed a younger generation, and now I'm getting to the age where I'm an OG, right? And my time as being a front-facing, trying to get in there and do shows and get articles written about my album sort of thing is done. It's done. I'm always going to make music, and the people who know about it will know about it. Great. But I'm kind of going towards or slowly falling into this OG role of giving the experiences of what I went through as a rapper, starting this nonprofit, getting that to be an impactful thing in not only Denver, Colorado, United States, and the world. And then also the music that I am making now, I'm releasing an album very soon.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, but it's called Sports, right? And it's just all songs that are trying to get synced for commercial and stuff, but they're dope. They're dope, big, strong songs. But yeah, I think now I think I'm falling into that OG role a little more and just not fighting aging, because that's the goal, is to age.
Totally.
That's the goal. And I need to be able to be alive to show other rappers that you can age, because it's not promised, really.
That sounds like destiny, being that you are the old man.
That's right.
That's
right.
Thank you for doing this.
Thank
This
you.
was a pleasure chatting with you. I'm genuinely a fan, super excited to hear all the stuff you're coming out with.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah, man, of course.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Bye.